Well, you mentioned they play around the global very well. The good news for No Tomorrow, our next battleground definitely favors some globals, as ENDEMIC will be taking us to Towers of Doom. So the Dahaka rises in priority here. The Brightwing, we've seen it twice. Maybe you continue to play against it. Brightwing has suffered recently, and by recently I mean quite a while in the current meta. But
everything but those last 2 games you watched?
Yeah. Well, Collusion actually has a couple of games on that when they ran a double support with Yoda on an Uther, I believe. So there has been some minor play, but that was only in the double support role. But Akaface, throughout all of competitive, whenever Akaface has been on a team, there's always a Brightwing involved somewhere.
Always a Brightwing. And a little bit of Lucio. It seems like a little bit more than the next guy. But again, I'm still really surprised to see the success level of that here, especially because Brightwing, within a sustained DPS meta, normally is not a hero you'd be like, yeah, she can hold her own to be able to keep up with that unless you get the all-in one-shot, but that's not how this is working. Granted, a lot of it's coming through winning the early game, and when they win the early game, it allows the Brightwing to be a lot more problematic later on.
I'm just imagining there's somebody in chat, and they're like,
yeah.
Wait a minute, Brightwing rework is already live?
Oh,
After
yeah.
they saw the video earlier, they're like, Brightwing and Kerrigan? When are we getting Kerrigan? Is Brightwing already? No, this is still gold.
I can't wait till they pick Shrines. The default reset on my mana on my Q on Kerrigan is going to be amazing. Like, it will be when it goes live, but that's not what we're playing on. This is old school Brightwing.
It's crazy to think about, but this is what we know. You mentioned Lucio. This is a battleground where Akaface has run Lucio on before. I believe it was during their somewhat off-meta Zarya, Lucio, Bala carry composition. Didn't work out for them in the past. Maybe they've had some time to practice it. So we'll see if there are any more tricks up their sleeve. But to the global side of things, Dahaka normally gets banned out in the first part, if not early priority on picks. We've seen Junkrat, and I think Junkrat is very good here for the stall. But for Michael Udall, give me a Michael Udall classic and give me a Falstad. I would like to see that.
I'll say this, with how Chaos Comps seem to be running by No Tomorrow, I'd be terrified to pick Falstad. I would be. I think everything about their playstyle eats squishy off lanes like no other. Did you see how long Kier was able to last on the Urel? And that's with 35 armor and an Ardent Defender opportunity there. I do agree with you to a certain extent. I'm just trying to highlight that, you know, it is a little different circumstances here in that now the draft kind of unfolding here, see if we see anything too specific. I'm also really curious on, because Toronto was ignored for the first 2 games, and then we got it, but it was only with a Zul tank, if you will. I wonder if ENDEMIC actually values the hero. They thought that was just a one-off, you know, kind of all-in play.
Genji let through. No Tomorrow. Pick that on Cursed Hollow. See if they hesitate here. There are some power plays that they can go with. They will lock in the Genji. Tomster looked really good on this hero in game number 2 on Cursed Hollow.
Yeah, he did. He looks really clean there on to the Genji. One of the better battlegrounds with the Diablo taken away, removing one of the easier crowd controls. At this point, I'm not going to lie, J-How, I'm a little concerned for ENDEMIC. Not only, I'm really impressed with No Tomorrow, but ENDEMIC, for a team that is going through some of the changes that they are, it seems like standardization and like learning from that would be the go-to, but they're already getting pretty wild with some of the pick priority and adjustments that they have. And it doesn't seem like the game plan and thought process is there as much, and normally that means a team is a bit more lost in kind of being reactionary. And No Tomorrow's not a team. In North America, we say, put you in a reactionary state. Though today they have evolved, it still seems a bit extreme, if you will.
Phoenix has been a hero whose name we have not called as of late. Sergeant Hammer will be the pickup for No Tomorrow, but Phoenix has fallen off so much, it almost seems like he's been lost, but he's back here.
Yeah.
He does trade out well. We've seen the adaptation going mobile offense to deal with the diving Genji. If Genji wants to try and trade out, you just stutter step move, stutter step move.
Yeah.
Stutter step attack, I guess, not stutter step move. Those are the same thing.
You're thinking A move.
A move.
It's okay. I'm here for you. Garrosh spam.
Everybody says right click move. I just say A move.
It's attack move. That's what you do.
I don't right click. All day.
J.O., you act like this is a profound thing. Welcome to MOBAs. Would you like to play at RTS?
Don't like to say I don't like to say right click.
Okay, well then don't. I'm not making you.
I thought it'd be weird if I said A move.
No, A move is a standard terminology for a lot of people. It's actually attack move, but A move, you're okay.
I'm an A move guy.
I'm proud of you. Good thing you're not a B move guy. They're all banned.
If I kill somebody, I am. B right click, B right click. I can't press those buttons fast enough.
That was... I'm not gonna lie, young man. That was one of the most impressive things you've said on the mic to me ever in my life. That was nice. Murden and Li Ming here for Endemic in the 3-4 coming out from them. And right now with the Phoenix pickup and the Li Ming, they're bringing the old school of the Phoenix, if you will, with the new of the priority of the Li Ming into the Sergeant Hammer. Planet Cracker plus Seeker usually equals a dead hammer about as fast as possible. Blaze is going to be able to help out with that.
But we've got ETC as the pickup.
Why ETC? That's my question.
Those 10 global value?
Yeah, but I don't think that's the case. You have Blaze for the offlane, and Blaze is going to be more profitable in the offlane itself, so it's actually for the hammer peel. But what hammer peel do you get? Self-sustain on your primary warrior to deal with the Li Ming poke is the biggest thing that comes out, dealing with the Seeker, and then having the opportunity to use that nice heal and help him out. Still decent knockback, but it still feels a bit dated. I guess, you know, out of that role, how many heroes can peel well for hammer? Enough.
ETC has seen better days in our meta. In our current meta, ETC has definitely fallen out. 32% win percentage right now. 10 and 21 overall in 31 games. Johanna, I'm double checking. Johanna's available.
Yeah.
You don't have the same... So face melt is a very common one. I mentioned this in some stuff I wrote up recently towards being a garage counter. It's you literally just press W a bunch as an ETC. That's kind of how you counter. It's like you want to come in, you want a groundbreaker, I just press W. I can cycle this all day. That's where ETC does have the counter potential. Presses E to eat some damage, get some armor, and then heal up in that sustain area.
Yeah.
But if that's solely what I'm drafting them for, I require a lot more out of the draft. I don't necessarily see that when a Blaze is there. It is full protection the entire way.
I agree with you. And then it's like, well, if protection was the goal, is ETC that big of an outlier? And that is where my brain concluded Li Ming poke and the self-sustain of maybe the ETC could be the largest indicator there. I will say one thing that we do see there for Jin is, again, moving in towards those new habits into the Tyrande. Though Jin was one of the more new habit-oriented offlaners that we have in North America pre-patch. Just something to note in the Tyrande meta. And then Tyrande going with the, you know, her iteration of the cleanse, I believe there is the orange. Celestial Attunement.
No mobile offense. Arsenal synergy to cycle those autos. Does do very well in the splash damage department and can trade out well if you can get every third moving into the fourth auto. B-Kid gonna try and get a stun out. Casanova walks away. Akaface?
I'm not so concerned, I guess, here with Akaface, maybe. Trying to juke the Stormbolt. That was Sergeant Hammer moving up to wear that one for him. And Aka's still almost going down.
There's getting the disrupt in rotation. That seemed overly committed.
Yeah. I agree with you. Does feel a little bit overcommitted. I think that part of that came from No Tomorrow on trying to send the Genji Blaze to the offlane to disrupt the Yrel, but it didn't go as well as they thought, so that they thought, you know, maybe if they can distract enough here, they gain enough on top to be worth the trade up, but Yrel looked at both Blaze and Genji, decided to leap past them, hammer away, and really didn't worry about too much after.
With Tyrande being back in the meta, one of the points you noted earlier on our Cursed Hollow map was the vision that you can obtain with that owl going out. Endemic uses that owl, sees that No Tomorrow's over there. You can see an invade coming. You don't need the anchor. You still need an anchor, but not in the traditional sense. There's going to be the follow-up. Casanova forced to power slide away. And that's where ETC versus, say, other tanks, like a Johanna, it's far more punishing when you give up that sort of damage in that situation, unable to walk away the same way a Johanna would. You're forced to go and tap and re-engage. Your trade-off is more on the offensive side of things later in the game. So we'll see how that plays out.
Dansky's got to be careful. Jay Shrite there on the side. Not going to go in there as the scroll ceiling did not end up landing, but that's one of those moments where maybe out of fog as the Lunar Flare combo comes down. And Jay, that was, I think, the one thing to remember when you look at how much damage just went out. Endemic, normally when you see that kind of trade, you're like, oh, that cost you something. But that was legitimately one Li Ming rotation of spells.
Yeah.
One Lunar Flare and one Stormbolt was enough to get that. Yes, the Hunter's Mark came in, but it's not like that's a big enough cooldown to worry about too. And that's part of the reason Tyrande is so effective, is she has kills outside of heroics, which are not something that exists that often. You hear me often talk about lack of sieging. In the current meta as it stands, like not too many heroes kind of fit into that avenue as well, other than like Hammer and Sylph. Tyrande does the same, but through kills. Always standardize, you know, damage out of your kit without heroics plus her equal a lot of damage early game.
ETC and Tyrande just kind of trade traits. You get armor, it's in the positive value. 20 armor for ETC, negative 15 armor for Tyrande. As Genji channeled it, Casanova eats a lot of damage again. The Genji on the way down. Blaze will harass Yrel in the top lane. So only one captured for now.
Thompster sieged up, in range for full interrupt if necessary. Going to go ahead and drop that one. Casanova is healed up pretty effectively every time the Lunar Flare combo comes down. J-Hell, you saw that right there. That miscommunication with this style of play when Tyrande's in the meta, it needs to be flawless.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, Tomster had eaten the owl, but was unable to get both of those magic missiles, so the channel was canceled. But now they'll move forward, get that canceled. Blaze has been stalling out, will continue to stall out. It's highly unlikely that No Tomorrow will rotate up, but buy them time elsewhere.
You'll have another flamethrower in 3 seconds. Has oil in 3 and another flamethrower in 3. So probably an oil flamethrower combo. No, he's going to hold on. Combo goes down on Mikasa though. Man, every time just barely surviving there. 15 to 20% HP.
Wow. Shrite comes up. They put the damage out. Cure trying to survive, gets the knockback on the hammer. This will be all 3 altars inevitably spawned. Jen able to jet propulsion away. There's the warp in. Unable to track anybody down just yet. B-Kid comes over with the stun. No jet propulsion for a while. They'll finally get a takedown. But they are giving up the push at the bottom as well.
I think that's the biggest thing to look at, you know, is yes, that did come at a cost on top, but Tomster's been just like, thank you, boys. I'm very comfortable with this damage on the bottom half. 1 kill onto a Blaze in the downtime after that triple altar pickup.
Yeah.
At this point, 1 death for that, plus this much macro pressure, I'm fine. Dwarf toss in, I've got the knockback, we're good here. No Tomorrow. I mean, J-Hell, though we aren't going to be it, just even getting all 3 of the first altar phase is so rare that this is insane coming from No Tomorrow.
It feels like they have something, a confidence in their decision making that they're forcing their will on their opponent.
Yeah.
Which I think goes into the very rare part you're mentioning. B-Kid hanging out. But Li Ming, as Casanova walks forward, just got clipped by the stun there. Li Ming, neither Triumvirate or Seeker into the Sergeant Hammer.
Shows a bit more maybe focus on getting the one shot onto the follow-up. Yeah, and getting threat onto the frontline aspect as well. With the Tyrande, I think it does make a bit of sense. We'll see if it comes to light here. Casanova's going to get caught out. There's the Lunar Flare combo. And he survived through the initiation, though that didn't help him here. As this game scales, that is a surviving Casanova, especially post-heroics.
Well, that there is the situation. When I saw Triumvirate wasn't picked up, but the amount of focus they have onto the front line, it seems like that is such a, okay, we don't have to worry about the Sergeant Hammer. We can kill the front line, and an ETC is one of the rare heroes on the front line that is susceptible to that style. You have to cycle out your abilities to get that armor.
Stage dive coming in. Stay a while and listen available for Akaface, but Kira knocking that back, not going to get the setup quite yet. Bunker entrance, 2 members getting in. Jay Shrite on the retreat. Akaface moving forward. There's a stay a while. Who's going to listen?
Shrite has a swift strike available, gets it through, gets the strike at the heart. They get another takedown. Shrite came in with, Casanova on the backside to confirm that first kill, as well as the BFG from Tomster was on point. 3 kills picked up there by No Tomorrow. Give them a lead and potentially bot lane control here onto this bottom bell tower. With the flank already coming in.
They're going to have to knock back Tomster into a bad position there, but the leap is this first channel for Pure as he's going to leap forward, giving out that armor. Scroll of Ceiling is dodged. Luna Flare combo lands onto Akaface, but he's got the armor, he's got the heals. He's going to split from the rest of the team, though, and that is the beginning of the end. Jet propulsion out by Jin. No dismount there with the flamethrower, but not necessary. Kill acquired here for Endemic.
It felt a little ambitious to try and get that early bell tower. Instead, it now looks like that will go over to Endemic. Poke this down with a Li Ming. Try and trade out in the top lane as much as a Genji can get lots of stars out onto that. Shuriken Sonato's not enough. Bottom lane control over in favor of Endemic.
An attempt here to maybe dismount gank onto Cure, but now Jin displaying himself through mid. Not going to be an option. But bottom bell tower control, though, in favor of Endemic now, and suddenly becomes the who's going to get this conversion back. We didn't really touch up on it as the fight happened pretty much as heroics were selected here, but the stage dive in this type of situation will help out No Tomorrow. And to stay a while and listen, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little surprised to see that with the stage dive and Dragon Blade pickup, you know, paired that with a mosh pit, like that is going to be one death combo. So now it's where do we get the macro value there for Casanova? And also, how often do we see him get the stage dive on the backline that actually is valuable?
And getting a Lornado onto a Phoenix, saying warp out of this as you're getting bodied around.
Yeah.
We'll get the trade. It's a lot of sappers. Urel moving into position won't be responded to like the first phase. Traded out.
5 shots back towards the base of No Tomorrow, now sitting at 31 here. As B-Kid still trying to anchor. This is just slowing down the damage of Tomster as best they can. So we see that self-unstoppable used.
Well, Blaze in this situation, post 10, which is where we anticipated ETC to be in that global range. Blaze has better sieging capabilities. Still can be targeted, but has better sieging capabilities to reclaim this. There's a 2-man response to the top lane with ETC and Genji.
If this bell tower conversion goes over on the top half of the battleground in favor of No Tomorrow, that's a big win for No Tomorrow. Bottom bell tower conversion at this point in time should be easier for them to get that back into their favor as long as the sappers aren't that big of a threat, and the Sergeant Hammer anti-siege is big enough that that's not a problem. So going even on this, I think what's going to happen is we're going to see over the next couple of minutes when there's enough resources committed towards the top half of the battleground for Endemic, No Tomorrow goes, thanks for the conversion back on the bottom bell tower, and more importantly, uses that free damage they've already set up on the next one on the side of Endemic and maybe get in a double control position. You add that on top of the experience advantage they have in their favor, it's a really nice position. I will say this next altar phase is about worst case scenario considering that trade opportunity, but beyond that, things are good here for No Tomorrow. Maybe not so much for Jin.
Oh, but Shrite comes in, tries to get onto Michael Udall. Stage dives coming in. Michael Udall pathing out. Does get those heals from Biggie onto that Tyrande, unable to interrupt that warp. Oh my goodness. Casanova gets knocked back, unable to get into the bunker. It's a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Endemic. For now, Sapper still pushing top against Endemic, but for now, No Tomorrow just trying to survive. Stay a while and listen will buy space for Jin to go back, but instead he goes back in, gets the stun locked down. Sappers make it across, but the altar available at the bottom should favor Endemic here.
The biggest loss here for No Tomorrow is not the altar. It is the manpower advantage over this window afterwards, because they would have been able to get this bell tower conversion a lot faster here on the bottom half. And I talked about how now that they have top into their favor, I think that is a very big advantage for them. But down a man, it's going to slow the advancement there. Stone does end up landing on the Tomster, but he has thrusters, and we'll deal with that. And all of No Tomorrow now back alive. The biggest thing is that ENDEMIC has somehow kept up in experience in this game now, based on these last couple of skirmishes.
These sappers will be dealt with. There will be another wave of sappers in a moment. As you can see on your mini-map, Li Ming working on those. All the action is here, trying to defend this bottom bell tower. Jin moves forward, gets the combo in. Tomster will come up, siege down, get some more damage in. They would love to reclaim this. Triple altar phase is next. See if they can get that advantage. ETC pathing down to try and soak these lanes.
Next minion wave, I would expect another prep on damage onto the objective itself. That was a really good job by ENDEMIC, making sure the wave doesn't even get in range for Tomster to poke. And then after the sapper clear, and the next wave is when you can expect No Tomorrow to get the all-in. But ENDEMIC not wanting to stick around for that opportunity at all. And now J-How, we'll see if the bottom bell tower conversion problem does come to light in favor of No Tomorrow, as Phoenix has made his way towards top to deal with that.
No Tomorrow in a good position to extend their lead. Casanova will make his way over. See if anybody gets some vision here.
If No Tomorrow doesn't get double shrine, they just lost 20 seconds of free damage on that top fort. They legitimately, for the entirety of the time, ENDEMIC has been sieging away, 2 members showing at all points in time, and they haven't found a kill anywhere. They need this kill. They need this. Jet Propulsion lands.
He's pinging it. He's just waiting to finish the channel. Instead, we'll cancel it as Cure comes over, so hasn't pulled the trigger on it yet. Akaface trying to walk away. Tomster got interrupted by the wave of force, I believe, but that's a big tool used in that engagement.
Lunar Flare gets the next interrupt. BFG with that power slide through the choke. ENDEMIC there lose themselves the Tyrande. Dragon Blade out from Jay Shrite, trying to find another reset. He's not going to find one, but not necessary to obtain those shots.
The BFGs twice now. The first, that bottom altar, that time there, perfect follow-up and execution, and No Tomorrow in those, which has given them advantages each time.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up. Tomster is making sure to just shoot them in generic tight chokeholds to make sure even if it doesn't immediately get the kill onto one target, which more often than not it seems to have, but even if it doesn't, it's going to get a lot of value and be a really good tool here for No Tomorrow. And now we see the bell tower conversion back for No Tomorrow, though it is into their favor. This is just because they have the Sergeant Hammer that they're able to get away with sieges like that and that last kill that they had. But the biggest thing is that I expected this again to happen with that top conversion. I'm surprised ENDEMIC didn't find themselves in a more difficult position after that.
ENDEMIC's making a play to neutralize, well, I thought they were going for boss to maybe neutralize win conditions. Instead, they're going to try and get a counter push into that top with the camp. They're showing a lot of resources to that top that have passed through that wave. I wouldn't be surprised if we see No Tomorrow put pressure elsewhere, but also threaten that bottom. Double sappers will be there. This is an opportunity now for No Tomorrow. I mean, they can check boss. Well, altar now spawning. They can just hold this bot lane now.
Yeah, you either hold the bot lane or you start the boss. Boss is the safer call. Owl is out on bottom, so nobody visible on the side of No Tomorrow on the bottom lane. So now if you're ENDEMIC, you're assuming somebody started the boss, but Genji displayed through mid is now removal of that information, and you're like, all right, they didn't really make anything happen. We're good to go.
Well, ENDEMIC will have to pass through this choke. Jin will meet him there. Jin, nice self-cleanse there with that Pyromania. Tomster starting the channel, nobody in position yet. And unable to get the cancel there. No Tomorrow, 5 shots away from ending not just this game, but this series.
Yeah, that was a really interesting situation there for ENDEMIC. A bit of miscommunication, but also just great job by No Tomorrow, putting themselves in a position to zone off of the objective there. Now back on bottom, restoring the pressure out. But as you said, with only 5 shots remain, J-How, we're in those lose-lose scenarios. All it takes is 1 sapper and a boss, 1 altar. ENDEMIC has to do something over this time frame, and it looks like the answer is to try and look towards Jay Shrite or the boss. This is a good boss play purely on the fact that there's no sappers to lose on the bottom half of the battleground, and No Tomorrow is sitting around kind of not making anything happen. But J-How, this is one of those moments where not making anything happen isn't that big of a problem, because they're waiting out the inevitable 20 spike, 5 shots, that's game.
You risk everything if you try and contest that and lose. Instead, you'll have the 20 tier. If they lose this keep, though, this bell tower, they do lose the 5 shots that could end the game. If they get that channel stage dive coming in, seeing if they can hold on to this. There's the knockback on the jump by the face melt from Casanova. The keep holds, but B-Kid forced to pop Avatar, stay a while and listen, see if they get the follow-up damage. They do, by way of the BFG. Out comes the Dragon Blade. Jay Shrite trying to help confirm this game. That's going to be kill number 2. Salvo out in return, but this looks like no tomorrow. Just dominating this game, and with that altar 15 seconds away, ENDEMIC will have to have a miracle defense.
Really great job there by Jay Shrite in that last fight too, as Jin still holding his own here, able to hit the 2-man jab propulsion. Dansky falling low, no reset for Jay Shrite, but the kill is there as the 5 shots are being channeled by Tomster in the bottom lane. Mike Udall, it's only a matter of time as we see Akaface make his way down here toward the bottom lane. Drops down the B-step, and that is game. No tomorrow takes this series 3-1 over ENDEMIC. And Jay Howe, not only is that a statement that I can't help but feel like everybody at home goes, nope, don't believe you at first. If I told you it was dominant, you'd double down and be like, all right, now you're just going crazy. That was insane from No Tomorrow.
It's nice to see.
It is.
We know the role changes came in after the Western Clash, and they've picked up a win in their last 7 series of Phase 2. But that's it, that one win. And it's like, all right, you're close, you're getting wins, but we need more, we need more. No Tomorrow delivered it in every form or fashion over the last 3 games. The shot calling on Dragonshire, the composition on Cursed Hollow, the early aggression, the continued aggression, 9 kills to 0. And here on Towers of Doom, you mentioned it before, very rarely do we ever see all 3 altars picked up in the beginning, but the manner in which they did it was very unique and very well played. And credit to No Tomorrow for really showing us a different side of themselves that we rarely ever see.
Yeah, and you know, I'm just going to be the realistic one here at the same time, though, that goes, I want to know how long it also lasts, right? Is something that they've been working on and somehow something clicks here today? Was it just a really good day coming out from their end? Because much like, even though this is a moment here for them, much like the rest of North America, it goes, how often can we get that from you guys as a group and as a roster here? It does feel like there were moments, and specifically the Dragonshire play, and then also that one Maev rotation from Jay Shrite on Cursed Hollow. Those 2 things done make me go, I think it might be a little bit more consistent than a lot of people at home would expect, but only time will tell.
It was nice to see No Tomorrow come out. Tomster switching over to his role, finding ways on the Genji, and then Jay Shrite on the Genji. They can trade off back there depending on what's there. The Zeratul from Jay Shrite, we mentioned how he has been one of the higher performing heroes in terms of all around. He's doing it on the siege damage part. He's doing it on the hero damage part, in the top 3 in terms of total damage per minute. He's active. He's effective. He's doing a lot for this team. We know that he's moved into more of a proactive role with shot calling, some of the drafting, which has been up and down with that team. So for this team to come around and start to get these victories, it shows a clear marked progress in all of this. To take down games off the top teams is one thing. To start to turn those into series victory against other teams is even better for this team. On the other side, ENDEMIC, they're going through role swaps of their own. Looked good right out of the gate. They countered Team Freedom pretty hard. Had a weird weekend last weekend. Come out here and dropped a No Tomorrow. Some question marks left for them.
Definitely some question marks left there, but I can't help but feel like the success there of No Tomorrow, especially when you're talking about Jay Shrite. One thing that stands out to me always when you look at Jay Shrite is how much he not only values work ethic, but he tries to embody that within himself, right? And, you know, I think that it's more often than not he's willing to give criticism a lot towards North America, being like, you know, I think that you guys maybe don't have that work ethic here. And to have this kind of level of performance, and then as you talked about, like that moment on the Night Invade, like 1 versus 3 with that Zeratul pickup and those type of things, with the success here coming in from No Tomorrow, I can't help but feel like a lot of that work ethic and that mentality there from them is why we see this slow and steady increase and never giving up no matter whatever series they are in, always finding that one game.
There was always the, how does this team function? There was personalities on this team. Jason stepped away in Phase 1. Equinox left this team after Phase 1. And then Jen came in during the middle of that Phase 1. We heard from Jen. We don't get to hear from No Tomorrow often. When we heard from them, you can hear the amount of time he put in. He talked about staying up all hours of the night. We remember that interview. It was very nice, very heartfelt to hear the amount of effort some of these players are putting in. And there are teams where you think, okay, are they putting in the same level of work? Who's getting the most out of that? And for No Tomorrow to be rewarded with a victory today, it's not that they were rewarded, it's a self-reward. They earned that through the time they put in. So it is nice to see that a lot of the effort, a lot of the time that they're putting in to make this happen, it's working out. And the role swaps for them seem to be taking place, having effect for them. They don't have a lot of time to evolve in that department. Crucible still might be there, but if you're trying to play Crucible, Crucible is I'm playing for next year. It now looks like, okay, maybe next year is a thing. Makes it a little easier to digest and feel good having that confidence going into that potential matchup if you do find yourself in the Crucible.
Yeah, and I think that the mentality and the play around a lot of those things, whether it be intimidation towards those Crucible teams or the playoffs, if somehow that was an outcome for you, the biggest thing is I feel, at least for me, and I don't know this exactly because, I don't sit in the comms of this roster and don't know the intricacies of their mentality, but for me, this would be a moment where I prove something to myself. And that is sometimes the most beneficial thing you can have as a roster is when you do or achieve something that you think you were more than capable of, you've been working on and being able to make that happen, and suddenly you're just like a second away from it, you make it happen, and that progress afterwards is almost exponential rather than the linear development you get at that point in time. And so now for me, it's like if that truly is this kind of moment for this roster, I feel bad that it took this long to get there is all I have to say about that, right? But at the same time, they're the ones playing all those games beforehand. Like, they're the ones trying to make it happen. It was up to them to hit that time window. But if it is, a lot of people are going to be looking at this and going, maybe No Tomorrow is, a bright future.
There's no better time to win than now. I mean, it's better now than never. So for No Tomorrow, that's good. We're trying to get somebody on the line for a winner's interview, having some technical difficulties. Hopefully have that available for you all at the end of the night. Would be good to hear from somebody of No Tomorrow. Let's turn our attention while we have a moment to Endemic. That we know the role swaps have come in from them. They had the weird weekend last weekend, but where do they go from here? This was an expected win for them. They felt confident coming in here, but they came up not just short, Dreadnought, but they came up short in a lot of areas.
I think that's one of those questions that, again, without going, hey, I need to talk to these guys and like really hear a little bit from their perspective, right? I can always give my insight of what it felt like from here, but what looks like a comms problem could be a completely different problem in actual practice itself. But at first glance, I don't feel like it was so much the role swaps itself as much as it was, to be honest, meta was a little drastic on a lot of fronts. And the roster that is trying to find themselves and go through those role swaps, we already talked about it earlier, you stick to standard. And yeah, it is a new patch, but you watched Korea. You had Europe to use examples. We had a lot of competitive drafts to go, all right, how wild is this meta that much past that? And that level of deviation mixed with that level of dominance on the side of No Tomorrow, I personally go like, it's a lot bigger than just like a one-off problem. That there's something kind of brewing for Endemic, and they need to figure it out.
They lost with an Arthas in game number 2, lost with a Tank Zul in game number 3. Game number 4, maybe you could argue Li Ming. We've seen the transition in builds to try and counter a Sergeant Hammer, instead sticking to the norm, not able to find the same type of value. So there is some things that maybe should be tuned. Speaking of tune, we can finally tune in. We've got Casanova on the line here to talk about his victory. Casanova, congrats and welcome in, man.
What's up, guys? Finally did it, man.
You finally did it. We don't get to talk to you guys often, but we hear a lot about the work ethic. It's something we were talking about here on, the last time we heard from Jin, he talked about the hours he put in. We know the hours that Shrite puts in, and your team as a whole, all the hours you guys are putting in your scrim and you're practicing. Does it feel good, like these moments to get in? You guys have been tough. You've taken a game in so many series for quite some time, but to get the series victory, how good does it feel?
I mean, it feels amazing to finally get it in a series where we actually feel like we played like on the level that we're capable of playing. Like, we have scrim results that can be really good sometimes, and then we get into tournament and it just looks terrible. It doesn't look like our team. So it's been very frustrating this whole season to just have these tournament matches that do not reflect like what the potential of this team is. And like, potential is such a word that keeps coming up for us, even though we still haven't shown anything. Like, we just keep coming and like playing poorly, even though like, yeah, we can do this like anytime. And I don't know how we haven't been able to put that forth until now, but it feels good to finally do it. So
Well, you guys had some excellent calls today. It was very fun to see some of the macro dynamics that you had. But since this is our first time talking to you guys since the clash, since the role swaps, this was a drastic overhaul to your roster. You have been a standout player on range throughout the entire year, the one stint on tank for 1 weekend, but since then, you've always been that. You switched back to the tank role to lead this team, allowing Tomster to move back, Jen moving over. What has the role swaps been like for your team since that clash, and does it feel like you've made the right choice?
Yeah, it does feel like the right choice. I mean, of course, like, when you come into a role swap, it's a huge risk, but one of the big issues that we were having as a team was like our communication was so terrible. Honestly, I'm just gonna come out and say it was terrible. Like we were unable to really like have a good dynamic between our players to flow the communication throughout the game and make proper decisions based on that. And with me moving to tank, it allows our most vocal player to be on the tank role, which I feel is where it's most important to be. And it allows Jin, who's also a vocal player, to be on the off lane and be able to make his rotational calls from there. And I think the flow between us two being on those two roles helped a lot. And I think Tomster being in a more comfortable environment on that range role has allowed him to really shine. I thought he played a great set today. So
it definitely looked good, and I can tell you there's one person who you made very happy with some of your rotations, did nothing but compliment you today. That's Dreadnought. I'm going to send you over to him.
You won me over even more, Casanova, with your distaste towards the word potential. Something that I felt like I was the only person on planet Earth who had resentment towards that situation. But I've got to ask, when it comes to this iteration of communication and the flow that has come through that, because your rotations, it felt like we're on a different level here today on a macro sense, that you weren't just no tomorrow, the team fighting sense. What has happened there? Is that truly just that flow of communication, as you put it, or have you guys maybe approached the game with a different paradigm?
I honestly believe it's mainly just the flow of communication. Like, Jay has a very good mind for macro, and I'm a very vocal shot caller about giving lots of information. So when we are able to get in a situation where we have all of the information and Jay's able to find these kind of like small plays, and just that's when he speaks up, is like, oh, we could back cap bottom and get the DK. It's like, okay, we'll stall them here, and like everyone just do that, like go. And we're able to get that because we have this constant communication of talking like, okay, there's 5 bottom. I see this guy have the flank. I see these guys here. They're moving in. And then we can get that. We can make these plays happen because we have this flow of communication coming through that isn't cluttered, and it's more constant. It's a more constant state of having this the communication.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes a lot of sense there. And then, so with that in mind, you know, another thing here that I've got to bring to light here and ask is some of the meta picks, you know, it's a new patch. You know, metas have been not established for sure, but things like the Brightwing coming out with you guys, we got ourselves a lot of Arthas, not necessarily in your guys' hand, but, you know, what was some of the justification with this more, I called it chaotic in the series in the moment, but it's not purely depending on that, but this adjustment with draft and hero priority from your guys' end?
Well, chaotic's like an interesting word for it. I think it's not really chaotic in the sense of what we're doing, but we're sowing chaos for them when we play like the Brightwing Genji or the Brightwing Zeratul, because it puts a lot of pressure on certain points of the map where there isn't usually pressure. And I think that kind of puts a wrench into a lot of people's normal macro game. And I think it caused Endemic to make some decisions they wouldn't have normally made as a team.
I think that's definitely fair.
And I think like the meta picks, like who knows what the meta is right now? Like Justin's playing everything. Like I played a bunch of different non-tanks this week in scrims. Like everyone's trying everything right now. There's no defined meta in NA. Like the NA Clown Fiesta is in full effect right now. But at the end of the day, like Aka's comfortable on Brightwing. We saw a good game for Brightwing, and we're like, well, why not? Like why not pick Brightwing? It looks good here.
Yeah, and he made it look very good, especially on Dragonshire. And thank you very much for the insight, Casanova, and congratulations here on today's win. I'll send you back to JL.
Casa, I want to talk about your record a little. You pick up your second series victory, but you guys have managed to pick up game victories over and over and over. And you have Tempo Storm next, but you have LFM in the final week. Simplicity dropped early. We got to crunch some numbers to figure out if and how it's possible for you guys to climb out. But watching the Simplicity series, knowing you're going up against LFM next week and Tempo Storm coming up next, when you look at how many games you can pick up, how many series you can pick up, how much is that drive to say, hey, we can make it out of Crucible range, we can find ways to take down, and you look around the league and you see other teams falling, Is that a talking point now to see maybe we can climb out?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible for us to climb out. Obviously, you know, Tom would like to avoid another Crucible. I would like to stay out of another Crucible. I've had to play a few as well. And I feel like we go in and we're like, well, what do we have left to lose at this point? Let's just try and like everyone just do their best. Like we had our coach Goon talking to us about like why are you all here? Like why do you want this so bad? Like how come this is not working out for us? Like think about in your mind what you want to do, what you want from the HGC, what you want from this, and just put everything forth and give it your best. And that's what he said to us today before our match. So I think everyone just kind of takes into their mind like, I want to be here. I don't want to stop being in the HGC yet. I'm not done. I'm ready to fight. And so we took it to Endemic, and hopefully we can take it to Temple on Sunday.
Well, you took it in dominant fashion, so congrats on the big victory today. You'll have Tempo Storm to see if you can bring it to them as well later this weekend. For now, the floor is yours for shoutouts.
All right. Well, shout out, of course, to my whole team. I think everyone played exceptionally well today. We finally really showed what we're capable of, and I'm really happy with that. Shout outs to all the fans of Brazil. I see you guys in chat all the time. I wanted to give that shout out for Jay for sure. You guys have been super supportive of us, even without us even doing very well. So I'm really grateful for that. Shout outs to our manager, Chrissy Flower. Shout outs to our coaches, Legend and Goon. Shout outs to Twitch Cat, of course. I love you guys so much. And shout out to Tom's mom, Momster. Thank you so much. You're the best.
Thanks, Casa. Momster's out there. She's a proud mama today.
Yeah, she is. I mean, if you have a son BFG in like that, you'd be proud too.
It looked good.
It did.
The follow-up was there. The communication was there for No Tomorrow.